I died on a Tuesday, choking on the bitter irony of my own ambition, my fingers clawing at the steering wheel as the semi-truck barreled through the red light I'd never see coming. Betrayed by the woman I called my best friend, who'd whispered poison into the ears of the board, painting me as the fall guy for her embezzlement scheme that bled the company dry. But death isn't the end. It's a goddamn reset button, and here I was, Finley Harper, 32 and furious, blinking awake in my old cubicle at Apex Innovations, the clock on my screen reading 2:47 p.m., exactly 1 week before the crash that ended my first life. The fluorescent hum overhead was the first thing that hit me, that sterile buzz I'd tuned out for years until it became the soundtrack to my unraveling. I was back, truly back, in the open-plan office of Apex, the hottest AI startup in San Francisco, where dreams of disrupting the world collided with the cutthroat reality of venture capital vultures. My desk was a war zone of half-empty coffee mugs and dog-eared notebooks, the kind that held sketches of algorithms that could predict market crashes before they happened. Or, in my case, prevent them if I'd only trusted my gut. I flexed my fingers, feeling the phantom ache from the accident that wasn't real anymore. No bruises, no sirens wailing in the distance. Just the chatter of keyboards and the faint scent of overpriced oat milk lattes from the kitchenette. My reflection in the darkened monitor stared back. Sharp jawline, messy auburn bob, eyes that had once sparkled with naive fire now hardened by the knowledge of what was to come. Finley Harper, lead data scientist, the golden girl who'd clawed her way up from a trailer park in Reno to this glass tower overlooking the bay. And in 7 days, I'd be roadkill, courtesy of a rigged investigation that pinned millions in missing funds on me. It started with Elena Voss. God, even thinking her name now sent a spike of rage through my veins. Elena, my roommate from Stanford days, the one who'd crashed on my couch after her divorce and somehow wormed her way into Apex as VP of Finance. We were sisters once, late-night wine sessions plotting world domination, her laughing at my conspiracy theories about corporate greed. But greed has a way of twisting bonds into nooses. She'd been siphoning cash from the R&D slush fund, funneling it into offshore accounts to bankroll her coke habit and a string of boy toys in the Castro. When the auditors got close, she needed a scapegoat. And who better than me, the quiet genius with no family to fight for her, the one who'd signed off on those dummy invoices without a second glance because she asked me to, just this once, Finn, for the team? The board bought it hook, line, and sinker. Marcus Hale, our smug CEO with his TED Talk smile and venture-backed ego, led the charge. Finley's the weak link, he'd said in that emergency meeting, his voice dripping with false regret. They froze my assets, leaked the story to TechCrunch, Apex prodigy in embezzlement scandal, and hounded me until I cracked, downing a bottle of Pinot in my loft and driving into the night, straight into oblivion. Elena got a quiet severance, a glowing reference, and a corner office at some fintech ghost in Austin. Marcus? He pivoted to a podcast on ethical AI, raking in sponsorships from the very sharks who devoured us. But not this time. This time, I remembered every email, every whispered aside, every forged signature. I remembered the way Elena's eyes darted when she handed me that last invoice, the one with the inflated vendor fees that funneled straight to her Cayman Islands shell company. I remembered Marcus's golf buddy, the SEC whisperer who'd buried the preliminary audit for a fat consulting fee. They thought they were untouchable, gods in hoodies playing chess with other people's lives. I was about to flip the board. I logged into my terminal, heart pounding like a war drum. The all-hands meeting was tomorrow, Friday's ritual, where Marcus would beam about our unicorn trajectory, while the devs nursed hangovers from Thursday's happy hour. In my first life, that's when I'd planned to drop the bomb. Stand up, wave my resignation like a white flag, and walk out before they could cuff me. But walking away? That was weakness. This time, I'd hold it up like a loaded gun and pull the trigger on them all. First things first, evidence. I couldn't just scream murderers from the rooftops. In America, truth is a currency, and you need receipts. I pulled up the shared drive, my access still god level because no one had smelled the rot yet. There it was, the folder labeled Project Phoenix, our AI ethics initiative that Elena had streamlined by gutting the budget. I dove in, cross-referencing timestamps with the blockchain logs I'd buried in a personal repo. Boom. Transfers matching her dummy accounts, routed through a VPN in Delaware. And Marcus? His emails to the auditor were gold, casual little notes about adjusting figures for investor optics, CC'd to no one but his lawyer. My phone buzzed. A text from Elena. Lunch? Thai place on market? Miss you already. The old me would have replied with heart emojis. The new me? I typed back, can't.
Swamped.
Rain check. Keep her close. Let her think the noose was still loose. By 5 p.m., I'd compiled a dossier thicker than a Tolstoy novel, PDFs, screenshots, even a quick script to scrape the dark web for chatter on Apex's irregularities. I encrypted it all to a burner drive, then slipped out into the fog-shrouded streets of Soma. The city pulsed around me. Ubers honking, street vendors hawking artisanal tacos, the distant wail of a cable car. San Francisco, the city of second chances, or so they say. Mine wasn't a chance, it was a weapon. That night, in my loft overlooking the Embarcadero, I paced the hardwood floors, wine glass in hand, not to drown, but to fuel. The place was a shrine to my old life, framed patents on the wall, a half-dead fiddly fig-eyed named Larry, stacks of machine learning journals dog-eared to hell. I sat at my kitchen island, laptop open, and started drafting the speech. Not a rant, a manifesto. Ladies and gentlemen of Apex, it'd begin. In the spirit of transparency our founders preached, I've got a little show and tell. I'd project the docs on the big screen, watch their faces crumple like cheap suits. But doubt crept in, the kind that death etches into your soul. What if they spun it? Called me unhinged, a jilted employee with a grudge? In this Me Too Me First era, whistleblowers were heroes until they weren't, until the NDAs and character assassinations kicked in. And Elena, she'd cry, play the victim, say I'd been erratic since my promotion. Marcus would lawyer up, bury me in defamation suits faster than you could say, hostile work environment. I slammed the glass down, shards of doubt fracturing my resolve.
No.
I died once for their sins. This was resurrection, American style, rags to riches, underdog to avenger. By dawn, the plan solidified. I'd go in hot, but smart, loop in a reporter from the Chronicle beforehand, anonymous tip with partial docs. Let the press be my shield. And if it all went south, well, I'd have a go bag ready. Passport, crypto wallet, a one-way ticket to Vancouver. But south wasn't an option. Not anymore. Friday morning broke gray and relentless, the kind of Bay Area drizzle that soaks into your bones. I suited up, tailored black pantsuit, the one I'd bought to celebrate closing our Series B. No lipstick. Let them see the steel in my eyes. The office thrummed with pre-meeting energy, baristas slinging cold brews, interns scrambling with iPads. Elena waved from her glass-walled office, her smile all teeth and no warmth.
Front
row with me, she called, patting the seat like we were still sorority sisters. Sure, I said, voice steady as rebar. Wouldn't miss it. The auditorium filled fast, 200 souls crammed into ergonomic chairs, the hum of anticipation electric. Apex was at its peak, valuation soaring past $1 billion, AI models licensing to Fortune 500s left and right. Marcus took the stage in his signature untucked button-down, mic in hand, beaming like a televangelist. Team, what a quarter. We're not just innovating, we're redefining trust in tech. Trust. The word landed like a gut punch. I gripped the resignation letter in my lap, folded crisp, the ink still fresh from last night's printout. In my first life, I'd stood, trembling, and held it high. I quit. And here's why. The room had gasped, then turned on me, whispers rippling like poison gas. Security escorted me out before dessert. This time, as Marcus droned on about Q4 projections, I felt the old terror rise, a tidal wave of what-ifs. Elena leaned in, her perfume cloying, Chanel No. 5, the scent of betrayal. You okay? You look intense. I met her eyes, saw the flicker of calculation there. She knew something was off. I'd been too quiet in the break room, dodging her gossip sessions. Just excited, I murmured, forcing a smile. My thumb traced the paper's edge, the words blurring. Effective immediately, I resign due to irreconcilable ethical violations. The slide deck hit the fraud metrics, our robust compliance, and that's when it happened. A glitch? No, my doing. I'd slipped a Trojan into the presentation server overnight, a harmless little worm that would overlay the next slide with redacted transfers. Marcus clicked forward, and there it was, $4.2 million vanishing into ether, timestamps glaring like accusatory fingers. The room froze. A murmur swelled, then exploded. What the hell? Someone hissed from the back. Marcus's face drained of color, his remote hand frozen midair. Technical error, IT. Fix this. But I was already on my feet, letter thrust high like Lady Liberty's torch. No error, Marcus. Just truth. My voice cut through the chaos, amplified by the mic I'd palmed from the podium during the applause break. All eyes on me. Devs, execs, the board dialing in from their yachts. Elena's hand clamped my arm, nails digging in. Finley, sit down. You're making a scene. I shook her off, stepping onto the stage as the projector looped the evidence. Emails, ledgers, her signature on the forgeries. This isn't a resignation, I said, voice steady, the hook sinking deep. It's an indictment. Apex isn't imploding because of me. It's rotting from the top. Elena Voss, VP of Finance, has been embezzling for 18 months. Marcus Hale buried it to protect his golden parachute. And I signed one invoice in blind faith. For that, they framed me, leaked my name, drove me to. I paused, the ghost of the crash tightening my throat. To the edge. Gasps rippled, phones whipped out. Live tweeting the apocalypse. Marcus lunged for the mic, but security was gridlocked by the stampede of suits toward the exits. Lies. Slander. Finley, you're fired. Too late, I shot back, tossing the letter at his feet. It fluttered down like a guillotine blade. Sirens wailed in the distance. Someone had tipped 911? No, the press. My anonymous leak to the Chronicle had hit. Vans screeching up to the lobby, cameras flashing through the glass. Elena bolted, heels clacking, but I wasn't done. You think this ends here? I called after her. The room a powder keg of fury. A dev in the front row, young kid named Raj, who'd idolized me, stood, fists clenched. We trusted you, he yelled at Marcus, and the dam broke. Fists flew, laptops smashed, the all-hands turning all-out war. As cops stormed in, cuffing Marcus mid-sob story, I slipped to the wings, heart hammering not with fear, but triumph. The company imploded live on CNBC, stock plummeting 80% in minutes, boards scattering like roaches.
Elena.
Busted at the airport, her Louis Vuitton stuffed with flash drives.
Me?
I walked out into the rain, free air hitting my lungs like absolution. But freedom's a tricky bitch. That night, holed up in a motel off 101, scrolling the fallout, Apex scandal trending, my face plastered everywhere as whistleblower hero. A knock shattered the illusion. Not cops. Him. The door creaked open to reveal Derek Lang, my ex, the one I'd ghosted after the promotion high, too buried in code to notice his quiet unraveling. He stood there in the motel's sodium glow, rain dripping from his leather jacket, eyes shadowed with that mix of concern and accusation I'd always hated. Finley. Jesus. What the hell did you do? I should have slammed it shut, but exhaustion pinned me. What I had to. How'd you find me? Old habits. You always book under FH incognito at these flea bags. He stepped in uninvited, the room shrinking around his broad shoulders. Derek, the freelance journalist who'd covered my rise at Apex like a fairy tale until our fights turned it into a cautionary one. We'd met at a hacker conference in Vegas, me demoing neural nets, him scribbling notes for Wired. Sparks, then fire, then ash when Apex demanded my soul 24/7. He eyed the laptop on the bed, screen still open to the SEC filing I'd just submitted. The news is exploding. You're a legend or a lunatic, depending on who you ask. Marcus is lawyering up, calling it a coordinated smear. Elena's denying everything. Tears on scene. Good for her, I muttered, sinking onto the sagging mattress. The adrenaline crash hit like a freight train, leaving me hollow. Death had been quick. This resurrection? A slow burn of what-ifs. What if I'd stayed quiet, taken the fall gracefully? What if exposing them branded me unemployable, a pariah in the valley's echo chamber? Derek paced, boots tracking mud. This isn't just revenge, Finn. It's suicide by scandal. You think big tech forgives? They'll blacklist you, Google, Meta, the whole cabal. And that evidence? Half of it's circumstantial. You need more than ghosts to bury them. He was right, damn him. The Trojan had been a Hail Mary, pulling public threads, but the real dirt, the offshore logs, Marcus's slush fund payoffs, lurked in Apex's air-gapped servers, guarded like Fort Knox. In my first life, I'd cracked them post-mortem via a subpoena that never came.
Now?
I needed an inside man. Or woman. But trust was a luxury I'd bankrupted. Tell me why you're here, I said, meeting his gaze. Those hazel eyes, flecked with gold, still stirred something dangerous. Regret. Maybe. Or the ghost of what we could have been if ambition hadn't devoured us. Because I know you, he said softly, sitting beside me. Too close. This isn't the Finley who quoted Sun Tzu over dim sum. This is the one who ran, after the miscarriage scare, after I begged you to slow down. His hand brushed my knee, tentative. I flinched, memories flooding. The positive test I'd flushed away in terror, Apex's maternity leave policy, a joke whispered in HR hell. Don't, I warned, but my voice cracked. Vulnerability was a chink in the armor, and I couldn't afford it. Not with Elena's lawyers circling, not with the anonymous threats pinging my burner phone. Snitches get stitches. Walk away, bitch. He pulled back, hands up.
Fine.
But if you're all in, let me help. I've got sources. Whistleblowers from Apex's old guard, the ones Marcus pink-slipped last year. They hate him more than you do. I waited. Derek was a wild card. Brilliant, but reckless, the type to chase Pulitzers over safety. In my first life, he'd written the exposé that vindicated me too late, after the funeral. Could I rewrite that ending? One condition, I said.
No bylines. No glory.
This is my war. Deal. His grin was wolfish, the one that hooked me years ago. We shook on it, palms lingering a beat too long. By midnight, we were deep in it, him on his tablet cross-referencing FOIAs, me VPN'd into a shadow server I'd seeded months ago with backdoors. The motel room transformed into command central. Takeout burritos congealing on the nightstand, whiteboards sketched on butcher paper with flowcharts of deceit. Elena's trail led to a shell corp in Nevada, Voss Ventures, laundering through crypto exchanges. Marcus? Boulder, direct bribes to city council for tax breaks, emails laced with emojis like winking assassins. But as the hours bled into dawn, cracks showed. Derek's questions turned probing. How do you know about the transfers? You weren't on it. Paranoia or intuition? I stonewalled, feeding him half-truths, the anonymous tip that was really my pre-death obsession. The truth? I'd hacked Elena's phone in a fit of suspicion, too late to save myself. Telling him now risked everything. He'd see the blood on my hands, the complicity I'd buried. Sunup found us bleary-eyed, a new lead burning hot. A whistleblower meet at a dive bar in the Mission, 8 p.m. Old-timer named Gus, Derek said, fired for insubordination after flagging irregularities. He's got printouts, physical, untraceable.
Risky.
The Mission was Elena's old stomping ground. She'd have eyes everywhere. But sitting still wasn't an option. Let's move, I said, grabbing my jacket. Outside, the fog had lifted, revealing the city's jagged skyline. A reminder that empires fell daily here, built on hype and hubris. The bar was a relic, neon Miller signs flickering over scarred pool tables, jukebox crooning Springsteen. Gus hunched in a booth, nursing a PBR, his face a roadmap of grudges, 60-something, ex-CFO type with a comb-over and grudge eyes. "You the girl from the call?" he grunted, sliding a manila envelope across the sticky table. Derek played buffer, ordering rounds while I flipped through, ledgers yellowed with age, notations in red ink screaming fraud. Jackpot, proof of the original skim, dating back to Apex's seed round. Marcus hadn't just covered. He'd architected it, skimming investor dough to fund his Hamptons flip. Gus leaned in, breath sour. "They ruined me, kid. Pension gone, wife left. You take em down, you do it for all us ghosts." His eyes bored into mine, and for a split second, I saw my own reflection, haunted, half mad. "We will," I promised, pocketing the docs. But as we slipped out, shadows shifted in the alley. Footsteps, too deliberate. Derek yanked me behind a dumpster, heart slamming against my ribs. A black SUV idled at the curb, tinted windows scanning. Elena's muscle? Or Marcus's paranoia detail? "Run," Derek hissed, and we bolted, through Ticarius steaming with carnitas, down graffiti alleys pulsing with bass from hidden parties. Lungs burning, we lost them in the throng of Friday night revelers, ducking into a taqueria that smelled of lime and desperation. Safe, for now. We collapsed in a booth, adrenaline spiking into something sharper. "This is insane," Derek laughed, breathless, his hand finding mine across the formica. "You always were a force of nature." I pulled away, the touch igniting old fires I couldn't afford. "Nature's not kind, Derek. It devours." But as we plotted next moves, leaking to the feds, rallying disgruntled exes, the line blurred. Ally or anchor? In this second life, trust was the deadliest gamble. By week's end, the net tightened. My Chronicle contact ran the partial story. Apex insider alleges multi-million fraud, and the Valley ignited. Protests outside HQ, devs doxing execs on Reddit, stock in freefall. Marcus went radio silent. Elena lawyered to the hilt with a PR firm spinning, he said, she said.
Me?
I went underground, crashing at Derek's Bernal Heights walk-up, a cozy nest of vinyl records and half-written op-eds. Nights blurred into strategy sessions, his king-size bed a demilitarized zone where we'd crash, fully clothed, exhaustion our only chaperone. But tension simmered, his glances lingering, my walls cracking under the weight of isolation. One midnight, post a brutal call with the DOJ, he cracked it open. Fin level with me.
Why now?
What changed? The truth clawed up, the crash, the light tunnel, the cosmic joke of do-overs. But lies were safer. I woke up, I said simply. Saw the cage for what it was. He nodded, but doubt lingered. And then, the twist that gutted me. A leaked email chain, courtesy of some Apex mole, hitting my inbox. Not just fraud, extortion. Marcus had dirt on me, fabricated but damning. Altered chats proving I'd greenlit the schemes, even a deepfake audio of me laughing about it over drinks with Elena. They were coming for blood. My blood. Again. The deepfake played on loop in my mind as Derek and I huddled over his laptop, the tinny audio mocking me. My voice, syrupy with false camaraderie. Elena, baby, siphon what you need. Marcus has our backs. It was flawless, AI-generated hell, timestamps backdated to our Stanford days. In the Valley, where truth was malleable code, this was checkmate. They'd paint me not as avenger, but accomplice. The feds would flip the script. RICO charges not just for them, but me. They're desperate, Derek said, pausing the clip. His apartment smelled of fresh espresso and printer ink, morning light slanting through blinds onto stacks of legal pads. This drops, your cred evaporates. We need to counter, authenticate the originals, get a forensics expert.
We.
The word grated now, a reminder of entanglements I'd sworn off. But solo? I'd crumble. Call your guy at Stanford, I said. The audio professor. And Gus, tell him to go public. Faces need names. By noon, we were wheels up, figuratively, in his beat-up Prius weaving through traffic to Palo Alto. The campus sprawled idyllic, quads buzzing with trust fund 20-somethings oblivious to the real world's knives. Dr. Lena Choi, Derek's contact, met us in a stuffy lab lined with oscilloscopes and server racks humming like judgmental bees. Mid-40s, sharp bob, sharper tongue. Deepfakes are the new McCarthyism, she declared, plugging in the drive. Give me an hour. We waited in the courtyard, eucalyptus scent cutting the tension. Derek bought us gelato, pistachio for him, stracciatella for me, a nod to our first date. Remember that symposium? You roasted the panel on bias and algorithms, had half the room applauding. I spooned the melting green, a ghost smile tugging. And you called me out in your piece. Harper's idealism borders on anarchy. Cost me a job offer. Worth it, he said, eyes locking. You were electric. Still are. The air thickened, charged like pre-storm static. I leaned in, foolish, fatal, our lips brushing in a tentative reclaiming. Soft, urgent, tasting of regret and resolve. For a heartbeat, the war faded. It was just us, two survivors stealing fire. Then Choi texted, "It's fake. Spectral analysis shows synthesis artifacts, but they'll bury it in noise." Back to the lab, her verdict a lifeline. Certifiable report, ready for the press. Fight dirty, she advised. Or don't fight at all. Dirty it was. That afternoon, we hit the warpath. Derek fed the forensics to his network, ProPublica NYT, while I deep-dived Marcus's digital footprint. Turns out, the CEO wasn't just crooked, he was sloppy. A forgotten Dropbox, shared with his mistress, per Elena's drunken texts, held the motherlode. Unredacted board minutes, admitting the cover-up. Harper's expendable, one read. Voss gets a pass, loyalty tax. Rage boiled, pure and clarifying. I routed it through a Tor node anonymized, and blasted it to every journalist on my list. By evening, the dam burst, headlines screaming, Apex CEO's secret vault, proof of perjury. Twitter, X, whatever, lit up with boycott Apex, devs quitting en masse, investors pulling out like rats from a blaze. Elena called then, my real phone, how? Spoofed number, voice of venomous hiss. You bitch. You think this ends me? I've got friends, senators, VCs. You'll rot in Leavenworth. Try me. I shot back, recording every syllable. Your friends are next on the list.
Click.
Her bluff cracked. I heard the tremor. Derek watched, brow furrowed. That kiss. Was it strategy or... Both. I admitted hating the vulnerability. But we can't.
Not now.
He nodded, hurt flickering, but the mission trumped all. Night fell heavy as we prepped the kill shot. A live stream from an encrypted platform, me unmasked, laying it all bare. No script, just raw truth, the kind that scarred but healed. America's dream factory runs on lies, I'd say. Apex was mine. Until it tried to kill me. But as we scouted the venue, a neutral co-working space in Oakland, far from SFPD's reach, the ambush hit. Black SUVs boxed us in the lot, doors flying open to disgorge suits with earpieces and drawn Glocks. Finley Harper? Hands up. Federal warrant. Heart in throat, I froze. Derek lunged protectively, stupid, heroic, but they zip-tied us efficient as butchers. The lead agent, a stone-faced woman with a DOJ lanyard, read the charges. Conspiracy, wire fraud, obstruction. Courtesy of Mr. Hale. He flipped. Full immunity for testimony against you and Voss. Flipped. The word echoed like a death knell. Marcus cowered to the core, trading my neck for his. In the van en route to holding, Derek twisted against his cuffs. This is bullshit. The docs. Seized, the agent cut in. And your little stream? Scrubbed. Elena's handiwork, no doubt, her friends pulling strings. Processing was a blur, mugshot flash, orange jumpsuit chafing like failure. Solitary cell, concrete biting cold, the weight of second chances crushing me. I'd rewritten the script, only to star in the tragedy. Hours ticked to dawn, regrets a carousel, trusting Derek too soon, kissing him like an idiot, not burning the originals. Then, a guard rapped. Lawyer. Not Derek's pro bono hack, a silver fox in pinstripes, reeking of old money. Name's Harlan Voss. Elena's uncle. Let's talk plea.
Voss.
The name slithered like oil. He slid a tablet across the table. Video of Elena, tear-streaked in a safe house, cooperating with feds.
She says you masterminded it.
Deepfakes? Your tech. But drop charges against her. Testify against Marcus. And this goes away. Immunity, relocation. New life. Temptation nod. Escape, erasure. Start over in witness protection, a quiet gig teaching code in Boise. No more wars, no more ghosts. But the cell's chill seeped deeper. This was the betrayal's echo, the same fork where I'd chosen silence in life one. Fold now, and I'd haunt myself forever. No deal, I said, shoving the tablet back. Tell Elena, game's not over. Harlan's smile was a scalpel. Pity. Enjoy the show. He left, and the guards dragged me to interrogation. Bright lights, bad coffee. A parade of suits grilling me on timestamps I couldn't prove without evidence. Midnight brought the break, a smuggled note under my tray, scrawled in Derek's hand. Gus went rogue. Live on CNN now. Hold the line. Hope flickered, fragile as a match. Turns out, the old man hadn't waited, stormed a presser outside Apex HQ, waving ledgers like a prophet, spilling guts on national TV. Harper's clean. It's hail, all of it. The room erupted when the feed hit the monitors. Agents scrambled, phones buzzing with frantic calls. By 2 a.m., charges dropped, provisional release pending review. Derek waited outside, hugging me fierce in the dawn drizzle. You're a hurricane, Finn. We drove in silence, the city waking to scandal's roar. Marcus arrested at his Marin estate, Elena's friends ghosting her pleas. But victory tasted bittersweet. The deepfake lingered, a specter in my dreams. As we crested Twin Peaks, overlooking the fractured empire below, I knew the real climax loomed. Revenge wasn't destruction, it was rebirth. And mine was just beginning. The fallout from Gus's bombshell was biblical, apocalyptic headlines, congressional hearings teed up, Apex's carcass picked clean by bankruptcy wolves. Marcus rotted in federal lockup, his immunity deal evaporating under perjury stacks. Elena? Extradited to face the music in a Nassau courtroom, her Chanel armor stripped to orange polyester.
Me?
Cleared, celebrated. A silicon Valkyrie toasted at rooftop mixers, I dodged like plague. But glory's a gilded trap. 2 weeks post-release, I holed up in a sublet in No Valley, cozy craftsman, bay windows framing fog-kissed Victorians, a far cry from my loft's sterile gleam. No more glass towers. I coded freelance neural nets for nonprofits, algorithms that predicted food insecurity instead of stock scams. Peace almost, except for the shadows. Derek crashed often, our just friends charade fraying at the edges. Dinners turned domestic, him chopping kale for stir-fries, me debugging over his shoulder, laughter punctuating the quiet. The kiss in the lab had been a spark, now it smoldered, inevitable. One rain-lashed evening, as thunder rumbled over the Castro, it ignited. We tumbled onto the rug by the fireplace, his hands mapping scars I hadn't shared, my whispers confessing fragments of the crash without the supernatural sting. I lost everything once, I murmured against his neck. Can't lose you. You won't, he vowed, but vows are paper in storms. The twist came sly, a serpent in the garden. A month in, my inbox pinged. Encrypted file from an Apex ghost account. Sender, Phoenix Rises. Curiosity's curse, I clicked. Inside, a dossier thicker than Harlan's threats. Not on Marcus or Elena, but me. Pre-Apex me. The secret I'd buried deeper than their fraud. The real reason I'd signed those invoices. Flashback to Reno, age 22, fresh out of community college with a coding bootcamp cert and fire in my veins. Trailer park grit. Mom OD'd on fentanyl when I was 16. Dad a ghost chasing blackjack highs in Tahoe. I'd hustled. Waitress doubles. Coded apps in stolen library hours until the scholarship to Stanford.
But en route?
A side gig gone wrong. Desperate for tuition gap cash, I'd freelanced for a shady crypto outfit. Optima Chain, laundering microtransactions through wallets I built. Not millions, just enough to eat. $47,000, to be precise. Caught in a sting, I'd flipped. Testified against the ringleader for a sealed juvenile plea, records expunged. Clean slate, or so the judge promised.
Until now.
The file laid it bare. Court transcripts, wire transfers traced to my old IP, even a photo, grainy but unmistakable, of me handing a USB to the boss in a Reno diner. Sender's note. We all have skeletons, Finley. Yours match ours. Walk away, or they resurface. Marcus. From his cell. Tentacles still writhing. He dug during the flip, weaponized my past into mutually assured destruction. Leak this, and my whistleblower halo shattered, painted as career criminal, the embezzlement, just another con. The feds would reopen, DOJ circling like vultures. Derek? He'd see the lie in my woke-up story, the complicity that mirrored theirs. Panic clawed. Call the lawyers? Burn it?
No.
This was the core wound, the original sin I'd atoned for in code and ambition. Running perpetuated it. Confronting? Liberation. I drove to San Quentin at dawn, visitor pass in hand, the prison's gray sprawl, a mirror to my soul. Marcus waited in the booth, orange jumpsuit hanging loose on his frame, once charismatic face sallow with defeat. Shackles clinked as he lifted the receiver, smirk faint but feral. Harper. Come to gloat. Endgame, I said, voice steel. Your file. It's over. He chuckled, dry as dust. Over? Kid, life's checkers. You jumped me, admirable, but I see your blacks. That Reno mess? Optima wasn't small fry. Feds still sniff for loose ends. Drop the charges, bury the leak, and it vanishes. Again. The offer hung, temptation's whisper. Safety, Derek's arms, a future untainted. But death had stripped illusions. This life was mine to own, warts and all. No, I said. Leak it. All of it. My story start to finish. Let the world judge. His eyes widen. Bluff? You're bluffing. Career suicide. Been dead before. I stood, leaving him gaping. Outside, fog muffled the guard shouts, the bayous steel mirror reflecting my resolve. Derek waited in the lot, having tailed me on a hunch. What was that? Truth serum. I handed him the drive, spilling it. Reno, the plea, the why behind my blind trust in Elena. I wasn't innocent, not fully. Signed off because I knew the game, played it small scale once. Thought Apex was redemption. He scanned the files, face unreadable, then crushed me in a hug. Idiot. Redemption's not a transaction, it's this. Us, fighting. No judgment, just fire. We leaked together. My full confession to the Times, framed as from accomplice to advocate. The internet fractured. Trolls baying for blood. Allies hailing raw honesty. Finley files trended. Petitions flooding the DOJ to seal old sins. Marcus's play backfired spectacularly. His evidence exposed his own hacks, illegal subpoenas via a crooked PI, adding obstruction to his tab. Elena's trial crumbled without his testimony. She pled out, 20 to life in white-collar purgatory. Apex? Liquidated. Assets funneled to a victims' fund for laid-off workers. Ethics reforms etched in the charter.
Me?
The controversy crowned me. TEDx invite, book deal whispers, a quiet pivot to policy, lobbying for AI transparency in DC. Derek and I. We built slow, road trips to Yosemite, where granite faces dwarfed grudges. Nights debating Foucault over bourbon, his byline beside mine on exposés that punched up, not down. 1 year on, at a cliffside overlook in Big Sur, Waves crashing like applause, he dropped to one knee. Not with a ring, too cliché, but a USB etched with our first algorithm, co-authored in that motel hell. Partners? He asked, grin crooked. Always, I said, pulling him up. The sun dipped, painting the Pacific gold, and for the first time since the reset, I breathed free. Death had gifted me fury, life, grace. Betrayal's sting faded to scar, a reminder. In America's arena, the real implosion is silence.
E chose roar.
And in that choice, I lived.